Christian, first of all,
Look at you guys with the camera tracks and everything.
Yeah,
bloody hell.
Yeah, the French crew, French TV.
The professional setup, right?
I'm so glad to see you again this time in LA for this new movie, The Big Shot. How Adam McKay present the movie? I mean, like a character-driven, like a financial movie, like a suspense movie?
I view it first and foremost character-driven, yes. But not in the typical Wall Street film, you know? This doesn't focus on the slick guys in the expensive suits. These are the other guys, these are the outsiders. And it took the outsiders to be able to recognize what was going on inside.
It's difficult to define this movie?
First and foremost, he wanted it to be entertaining. Nobody wants to see a movie about...
Yeah, it's not boring at all. I mean, it could be boring.
No, it could be very easily. I mean, the subject matter sounds like it would be boring. You know, a bank collapse and people betting against what? You know, what does this even mean? But the movie breaks it down, and it doesn't talk down to people, but it also, I think, speaks to their highest level of intelligence. It expects something from the audience.
When I read the book, I remember thinking there's a lot of complicated information in here, but I always just believe with film that you do what you need to do, that there's no rules, you just need to communicate. It's really not that complicated. They make it seem complicated, but really all you're doing is moving debt around and moving money around. That's it. That's the entire financial system.
For me, it's a commercial movie. I mean, it's not... Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it was the point to do something for the large audience and something very commercial?
I didn't view it as that, as I'm doing it. I just look at things and go, am I interested? Would I want to see this? But the thing is that what he does so brilliantly is that you don't have to understand what a credit default swap is. You don't have to know all about, you know, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And what's important is that you come away understanding what it means to you and what it means to the everyman on the street and the consequences that it has. And some of that is hilarious, and some of it is just heart-wrenching and poignant. And the wonderful moment where Brad Pitt's character says, just don't dance, you know? Because these men, they're not heroes. They are insightful, and they are brilliant in the fact that they are seeing the truth where others are not. But they're still making an enormous amount of money out of the downfall of this American economy. So they're not heroes, but it also kind of shows how debased the whole culture had become, that just by the fact of saying the truth, they're considered to be heroes.
Okay, let's try number 2 out of 14.
Ben Rickard.
Ben, why do you do that, man? I mean, you're a retired trader, okay? No one is listening to your calls.
The NSA has $52 billion budget and the ability to monitor
Tens of million calls a second. You think they're not using it?
I promise I will refrain from saying Ben Rickard and Dirty Bomb in the same sentence.
I always look at it that, you know, this system, the banking system, there's not a lot of white hats. There's not a lot of heroes. So you take what you can get. And these were guys who believed in the market. They saw a bad investment and they bet against it. Then they realized they were the only ones on the other side of the room, and that's where, you know, the movie takes that turn. But, you know, also when I met the guys, I realized they were all still angry. They were still outraged that nothing had changed. They tried to warn people. No one would listen to them. You know, we had a scandal here in the United States with baseball, where all the baseball players started taking steroids to make themselves stronger and hit more home runs. And no one ever said anything about it, and it was cheating. And finally, one guy wrote a book saying, everyone's using steroids, I use steroids. And everyone went, who are you? You used it, you're a liar. And I'm like, guess what? In a corrupt system, you don't get to pick your heroes. A lot of times your heroes are dirty too. And I love that about this movie, that there wasn't some clear white knight. It's not the way life works.
It was exciting for you as an actor to play this guy, and how you try to create him. I mean, the way you move, the way you speak, I mean, it was very, very something special for you?
Yeah, it was different. And it's strange playing a real person because you feel a responsibility to that actual guy. And I met him, and I met his family. And it's odd because you meet someone like that and you want to learn as much as you can, and you're watching how they move, but you also don't want to be weird. You know, you don't want to make them feel weird because you don't want to seem like a science experiment. And I'm, you know, I'm deconstructing who you are so I can feed off of that and use it. So, but at the same time, you want to do the character justice, and you want to try to get at least an essence of who they are and how they navigated their own world. He actually showed up on set a few times. He was there my first day of shooting. So it's a little,
like this, no,
a little scary. Yeah, I mean, he's standing at the monitor, but he's such an unfiltered person, and so he's very full of life, and he's an interesting guy, very complex, very smart, but also completely unafraid to weigh in. You know, as you can see in the movie,
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
He has no compunction about telling it as he sees
absolutely.
it. And so he was giving Adam McKay, our director, he was giving him notes on how to direct the movie. He'd never been on
that.
yeah, I don't like this angle. But that was great that he was there and that he was being himself, because it reminded me, oh, that's who this guy is. He's confident in any scenario, in any situation.
You play these characters so fresh, so cool. It's necessary for you when you play a character like this, be so cool, so natural.
It's the way he is.
Yeah.
You know, I just observed Mike. You know, he's very, very individualistic, idiosyncratic in the way, the rhythm of his speaking, his thoughts, his absolute lack of a filter. Sometimes lack of recognition of other people's responses. He just barrels on through, but without any sense of ego, you know, and the fact that, you know, this is a man who loved to walk around barefoot in T-shirt and listen to Pantera all the time.
Hard rock music,
And he's brilliant.
And his office is like his home, in fact, no? Because
very much, yes. You know, I mean, in fact, we had to lighten it because he generally is in the dark all the time. When I went and met with him, the monitor was the only light in the room. But we couldn't see anything on film, so we had to put the light up a little bit.
So also something exciting as an actor playing the movie with Ryan Gosling, Steve Carell, Brad Pitt. I mean, it's an ensemble,
and all the rest, you know. I mean,
yeah, of course, absolutely.
Incredible ensemble cast, and what was nice for me is that, you know, I filmed my section in complete isolation. I didn't meet anybody. I didn't meet anybody until the premiere the other night. On the carpet. It was the first time I met the other cast.
Something strange, no? I mean,
and so it was a real delight for me to see what on earth the rest of the film was about, you know, and see the interaction. And man, it's the quality of acting and entertainment is just a real delight to be a part of.
And cut. Really good take. That was nice.
You know, you see someone like Christian Bale show up on set, and he's done all this work on his character, and it's so detailed and grounded. There is a moment where you just step back and you realize you're watching a great artist at work. But best of all, the reason these people have all become successful actors is they adhere to certain principles. They listen, they collaborate, they're in the moment, they're smart, they interpret. So anytime you have actors doing all those things, it makes my job a lot easier as a director.
No, Adam, very well. You made a lot of movies with him. I mean, it was exciting for you to see Adam on this one.
It was fun, but similar. He works in a similar way. It was less predicated on being funny the entire time, so we were able to take more time and explore character, as opposed to, you know, Anchorman. Not a lot of exploring of character. So in the comedies that I've done with him, and I've known him since the late '80s, but it is similar in the sense that he gives everyone this freedom to fail and to play around and to improvise.
Improvisation, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which was also tricky too, because we had to learn as much as we could about the financial world, so we could improvise in that language, and it's a difficult language to try to master.
So maybe the most difficult thing for you to do on this one is to just learn your lines and the difficult language? To
learn the lines, but to also learn the essence of it, to learn the theories, or to try to understand a little bit of the theories, so you could improvise within that and make up the words yourself and not be completely committed to the script.
Jared, it's chaos down here. Where are we?
And Caesar wept for there
were no more worlds to conquer. Shane? Shane? Well, Nobody's buying CD or mortgage bonds anymore, and everybody wants swaps.
Swaps are now the most popular product on the street.
That's good for us.
Yes and no.
I heard from somebody who heard from somebody. No, Alex. No. Sorry.
It's a very specific financial terms sometimes.
You know what, though, by the time I was doing that, you know, when in the conversations with Mike, and then I listen and listen and listen again, and I read about it, so it became second nature, because it's, you know, it's like legalese in the way that the business likes to use terminology to confuse the client, so that the client feels absolutely useless and dumb, and that they need that. It's actually not complicated. It's just that the words are designed to confuse. And so once you get beyond obsessing on the words and you actually understand the meaning of what it is, it's not complicated. And that's what the film gets to. It gets to forget about the, you know, CDS or whatever the hell it is you might be talking about. Let's look at what does it mean. And when you look at what it means, it's simple.
I think the script is very, very well written. I mean, something very unique to find a script like this.
Yes, yeah. And so that's Adam, and that's Charles Randolph, and that's Michael Lewis. Yeah. And then it's them imparting the tone so that all the actors understood what tone we're going for. And then you got Hank Corwin, the editor, who did an extraordinary job with it.
But maybe because Adam came from comedy, it gave the movie the special rhythm also, maybe, you know?
And there's nice beats where it jumps you out of it, you know, it cuts right at the end of a line where it doesn't give you that pause afterwards sometimes, and it keeps you on your toes.
You come from the comedy, helps you to direct this one regarding the rhythm of this movie, maybe like a comedy?
It's got a comedy element to it. You know, I think more and more you're seeing the genres start to break down. I think genres are old constructs from hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and you know, sure, there are comedies where you're going to laugh, but I think more and more you can change gears in the middle of a movie. There was a movie years ago called Something Wild with Ray Liotta. And the first half of the movie was really fun and funny, and then the second half became like a psychopath killer. And I never forgot that movie. Like, you can do that. You can shift. So there's parts of our movie that are really fun, where the guys are getting over on the banks, you know, these big evil banks. They've figured out they've done something wrong. And then there's another part where the tragedy gets even bigger, and it engulfs all of them and engulfs us and becomes full-on tragedy. So, that's the thing I was most excited about with this movie, the idea of like, wow, you don't have to adhere to genres.
Yeah. Remember your reaction during this crisis? Not only an actor, but a human being. I mean,
yeah, no, I do, and I remember, you know, you read the newspaper and it doesn't have the emotional impact. So I remember reading it and kind of going, oh, never mind, you know, it'll all work out, and then keeping on reading and realizing, okay, you know, and when they actually describe you need to know what it means to an individual, and then it comes home. You know, when it's a generalized topic. It doesn't get in there, you know? Yeah, it's in there a little bit, and like the film says, you might have a couple of sentences just to make yourself not sound dumb, but that's it. But it's not until you actually put a face who's a victim of what is happening before you really understand it, and that's what the film does.
Thank you very much, Christian.
Thanks so much.
Great pleasure.
Right.
Merci beaucoup.
Cheers.
Merci.
All right.